Being
So
recorded.
I'm actually here in Southern Illinois celebrating my son who just turned 33. It's hard to believe I retired at 33 and now I'm celebrating my son being 33. It's like, and I can remember that day so vividly, and it just shows you how time flies. But just thank you first for who you are. Appreciate that tremendous introduction as I, really just think about you and everything we've been through just from the beginning of time when I first met you, and just to see your growth as a business partner here, also in this industry, hitting emerald and oh my goodness, on target for diamond, and all that you're doing to just really lead the charge. So thank you and kudos to you. Also, as our VP of Finance, wearing so many hats, holding it down in customer service. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And you're right. In this industry, it's amazing how you can meet someone who's a total stranger, may become a business partner, but then before you know it, you're family, okay? And that's just the beauty of network marketing. And I want to say to everyone on the line, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Super excited to hear your beautiful voices this Labor Day. I know some folks might be sleeping in this morning, but that's okay. We have an exciting lineup of information that I want to share as we kick off this next season, which is truly exciting. This is one of the most exciting seasons of network marketing, and it's right here today where we kick it off. And I want to first share our mission statement. We believe health, wealth, freedom, and legacy are our birthright. By offering the most life-changing products and an innovative business, we empower people to elevate to their full potential. Akana means in the hands of God. Today's topic, I'm going to talk about 90 days to win, okay? Labor today, prosper tomorrow, okay? And so that's going to be the theme of today, but I do have a few announcements I want to really kick off today with. First and foremost, we actually had an exciting weekend with the leaders. We had a Ruby Roundtable, the very first one. So this was our first Ruby Roundtable, the first of many. And to qualify to be on that call, that means you have to be a qualified Ruby, someone who's hit Ruby at least once in your career here with us in Akana. And obviously, if you're Emerald or Diamond or Double Diamond, you're also invited to that particular roundtable. Now, we are going to do this primarily in person, but we will do some Zooms. And so yesterday represented, actually not yesterday, but Saturday represented our first Zoom that we did together. And again, it was great just hearing, having a chance to hear from any Ruby or above that needed to express anything, whether it was something great, something of concern. And then we will have our first official Ruby Roundtable in person. And so that's going to kick off the weekend of November 1st, but everyone's actually invited to experience the weekend with us, but that particular meeting will be reserved for the Rubies and above, but that's going to kick off the weekend of November the 1st. And so I want everyone to mark your calendar. Make sure you don't make any other plans because we want you to be where? In Chicago with us. And so, in fact, for many of you flying in that evening, it's Halloween, I guess, right? So that's going to be the weekend of also Halloween. And we've had some epic parties, too, around that. So that's interesting. But we want to kick off Friday night as really a night to prepare for our Battle of the Blood Types, okay? And this is really great because we've had an opportunity to do many Battle of the Blood Types, okay? And so we've really learned as we've continued down that particular path, really what works. Our very first one was so exciting because we had hundreds of people show up, but it was so laborsome, right? For those of you who participated, we worked our butts off just to get, whether it was food prepared, handling the crowds. It was just a lot of work. But what it showed us is that people have an interest when we go out and market a message the right way. And so we've since done several, Battle of the Blood Type Super Saturdays, and those have been epic because we really have allowed the blood types to work together because we know that we're better together when everyone synergizes. I'm telling you what, the team can win in such a big way. And after having so many of these amazing vending opportunities, we just came back from the one in Atlanta, the Black National Conference, with the fabulous Ruby Dynamic team, Anita and Fred Shelton and some of our Diamond and Emerald leaders. That was an epic weekend, but it really showed us, we have something super special, and we really want to bring all of this together in a way that we can help, really prepare that platform that we need in order to take this to that next level. And so I really see and envision this next battle of the blood type bringing the best of what we've done so far. Okay. We are great at the invitation, and I know some teams were better than others, right? Some leaders are better than others. And so it's great to challenge each other so that whatever your weakness is, someone else might have a strength. And then whatever your strength is, that might be someone else's weakness. And that's how we synergize, right? We're not all going to be strong at everything. But when we can just be honest and transparent to say, hey, I really struggle here, we can come together as a group to really make this battle of the blood type so epic. So if you feel your strength is marketing and invitations, we want everyone to synergize because we want this to be the biggest, most attended battle of the blood type yet. Okay. And so it's going to be on November the 1st. We're going to have a couple of Zooms with the team just to kind of go through some of the logistics to finalize things like the time and, the agenda, and to really see where everyone sees their participation at. Okay. And so if you want to participate in that event, you don't have to be a Ruby to participate in the Battle of the Blood Type. It's really for all blood types, okay? And so if you're on the B team, the A team, the O team, the AV team, right, we want you to represent, okay? We want you to represent. And so what you're going to want to do is when we have our first kickoff Zoom, you want to participate on that. You want to make sure that every blood type is well represented. We want to hear from everyone. And a part of the goal is going to really be to, first of all, finalize who's coming, right? Who's going to be there, and then to really come up with a winning strategy that's going to help us to get that place packed out. Now, one of the bonuses that we're able to offer is we still have the lower level. I know we've moved that level, as it relates to the energy. The energy is upstairs in the spa. So we know that is one continuous space now. But we now have a 1,500 square foot facility in the lower level that right now is completely empty. We're going to put tables and chairs there. It's going to be a great space for events. And so this is going to be great because we can look at it also not only as a space where we can have, our vending table, because if we're inviting all these different people out, we're going to want to have a chance to have some of our leaders there, at the back of the room, able to quickly, get their blood type test sold and, upgrade them to bitters and 7-day cleanses, just like we see, again, when we do any of these vendor shows across the country. But we also have space for the seats, so we can have people there learning from our top leaders, learning from our diamonds, learning from our Dr. Vetty, okay, learning from all of you out there who might be participating in the education piece. And so, again, we see this weekend as something epic. Do we have a few vendors there? I mean, that could be a possibility if we want to have some people that have businesses that really complement but don't compete with what we do. So just think about that. What complements but doesn't compete with what we do? So we wouldn't want network marketing, right? So no network marketing vendors, but it could be people that have a company in Chicago that we might want to really work with some of these companies. It could be a restaurant, someone who offers food that they might want to make some food for different blood types. So just put your business cap on and think about that, because a part of this strategy is also being strategic, right? And understanding the power of really leveraging when you offer people what's in it for them and you give them an opportunity to showcase in a way that's a win-win for everybody. And so super excited about that. Again, get your thinking caps on. Let's really brainstorm and make that weekend epic, because we'll come together that Friday to ensure everything logistically is in place for Saturday, but we want to make sure that our thoughts, our ideas are put out before the last minute so that we have a chance to properly prepare together as a team and really find out who has what skill sets. Because in order for us to win, we got to win together. It can't be left on one or two people. It's got to be the team coming together and really saying, hey, I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I want to help the whole team win, and we want to do this in a big, big way. And so Saturday will be the battle, and then on Sunday, we're really reserving that for the Rubies. And so Sunday will be a day where strategically we're there with the Rubies. There's going to be some great things that we're going to bring from a corporate perspective, but also, too, we're there to actually be a sounding board for anything that the Rubies might want to share, from a concern point of view or from a win and a highlight and an exciting point of view, right? There's so many things that we want to celebrate, and it's not only talking about concerns, but also what's going right. That's very critical, so we always have a balanced perspective in anything we do. And so super excited, guys, about that. So definitely make sure you mark your calendar and you plan to attend this very epic event. We have reserved the space in the Energy Enhancement Center for our rubies and above, but that's going to give them first dibs. But if it doesn't fill up with them, it's going to be open for everyone. So make sure you get with Dr. Betty so we can start seeing, because we're going to leave that space empty, okay? Because remember, the bulk of the event's taking place downstairs. And so the upstairs portion is going to be available for those of you coming from out of town. You might want to leverage the spaces that we have. And so even though there's only going to be so many beds that are inside the Energy Center, we do have, oh my goodness, I think another 6 beds outside of the Energy Center. So we have another 6 right outside of the Energy Center where you can still get some of those benefits. But inside of the center, I believe we have enough space for 5 to 6 beds. And so if you add that all together, we almost have space for about 11 to 12 people. Okay, so again, get with Dr. Betty, reserve your spot so that you can actually ensure that you make this trip super, super, super affordable. And when it's affordable, hey, guess what? We know that it's going to absolutely duplicate, right? We like to duplicate things that make sense, and things that make sense have to be things that make money, okay? And so with that being said, I also wanted to spend some time, really sharing just a few updates from the Ruby Roundtable call, regarding customer service. There are some big things happening in the space of customer service. We know that Kathy's done a phenomenal job really holding it down from a point of view of managing that phone line. And we do have some new volunteers that are going to be helping with that. So we're super excited about that as well. We do know from an email support, we know Dr. Betty's joining that team. So that's going to be awesome. And then operational concerns. We were able to address anything operationally. Right now, we're in a real good position as it relates to product flow. So we are getting equipped and ready for this epic holiday season we are right in front of. And we also went through communication and engagement. We covered even founding members. So super excited about the updates we shared there. And so if you have not had a chance to speak with your upline leader yet, just know that we've had a chance to address any pending commissions that might be due and owed from founding members. And so September 15th, you can check your back office because that's when you'll see anything you might be owed from the founding member, the Black Card membership services. And then, of course, those funds that drop in our unilevel become available in October, which gives you plenty of time to review. And so, again, get with your leaders on that, but we thoroughly discussed that on the call that we had this past Saturday. And so there were other things we covered as well. Those are just a few of the highlights. I know one of the things that came up in a repeatedly was our website. And so, as it relates to just some of the functionality, just one thing I do want to say, guys, is there were several updates made actually a few years ago, because business hours came up as one of the main themes. But on the actual receipt, every time your customer does make a purchase, it does showcase our business hours highlighted in yellow, okay? It's very bolded, highlighted in yellow. It talks about our business hours, but we are going to make some updates to the website as well. So they will see that 12 to 6 on the website as well. So just wanted to put that out there as well. And then also, too, we did open it up for volunteers. And so we do know that many of the people who do volunteer, they're not Rubies, right? Which is fine. We just want to make sure they're business partners. So if you're a business partner and you want to volunteer, our team is currently putting together some criteria and some positions that might be eligible for volunteer basis. And so if that is something that interests you, I know some of you have came to us personally, and we appreciate that, but we're going to create a more formal process. And so just stay on the look for that so that you might have an opportunity to volunteer if that's something that interests you, okay? And so with that being said, I want to also now get back into the topic that I really wanted to talk about today, okay? Again, today is September the 1st. Today is Labor Day, okay? And when I look at Labor Day, for me, just as a person who's been not only in network marketing, but now in the corporate capacity, we know that this also is a very significant day, okay? Because it's really the official launch pad, okay, to the biggest 90 days of our year. Okay, this is where vending and home parties and consistent action turn into Black Friday breakthroughs. See, while the world is resting right now, see, many people didn't make the call, okay, because this is Labor Day, right? See, people are resting in, they're sleeping in, but guess what? We're preparing, okay? In fact, we're 90 days out from Black Friday, which we know this is our Super Bowl season, okay? This is the season in which diamonds are formed, right? This is the season in which double diamond, triple diamonds, but it's going to take really focusing and preparing now. And so when we know that Labor Day is about honoring works, so we get that, guys. But guess what? You're positioning your labor now, right? Our labor now as what? As the key to prosperity later. See, we're in a different type of industry. The network marketing requires that you labor up front, but then there's a day when you get something called residual income. I mean, there's people in our business right now who don't lift the phone to do anything, but because of where they position themselves years ago, guess what? They still receive residual income from our company. They make a check every time we drop a unilevel. And that's a very powerful position to be in. And if you want to be in that position, the key is you got to pay attention, right? You got to pay attention because there's a power of a 90-day sprint. See, 90 days is full transformation, right? This is when you have a chance to build and you have this window where you can focus on health, you can focus on business, you can focus on your mindset. And when you really think about 90 days, you really want to break it up. You know, when you think about September, it's about what? It's about planting. It's about making those phone calls. It's about booking those parties. It's about getting busy. And when you think about October, right, things are starting to come together. And so what do we call that? We call that cultivating. And then when you think about November, see, November is when things start to really come together, and that's when we call harvesting. So you want to really think about this in 30-day increments that forms this 90-day powerful transformation. And so again, what's the theme? If we labor today, we get to do what? We get to prosper tomorrow. And so what does the labor entail? Well, our labor entails a lot of fun. I mean, we have so much fun. We meet so many people when we do what? Home parties. We do the little mini meetings, you know, vending. See, this is a part of our labor. And in my opinion, I mean, think about it. You know, we have one of the best industries on the planet because our labor really is something that if you put the right mindset to it, that's super fun, super empowering. And think about how many lives you have a chance to touch every time we labor, every time we vend, every time we have a home party. And so I want to just do this, guys. If you are a leader on this phone, we need to get your calendar booked and busy. If you don't have party after party booked on your calendar, if you don't have if you're not researching vending opportunities in your area, right, where you're positioning yourself to really plant those seeds, then guess what? When November comes, don't expect the harvest, right? Sometimes in this industry, we get extremely delusional, right? You know, and we kind of think, you know, I'm going to hit this in November, but what did you do in September? And it can't just be what you've been doing, because if what you've been doing has got you where you're at right now, guess what? You got to do more. So we got to step it up. We got to step it up. Whatever you see in your calendar for the month of August, you want to 5X that, right? Do 5 times more than what you did in August. If you want to 10X your business, what you did in August, you want to 10X. That means you got to 10X your activity. When I was first in this industry, I was a little delusional because a lot of times people would tell me, hey, you're great at public speaking, or hey, you're great at the presentation. So guess what I did? I did a lot of presentations, but I really wasn't being strategic. I wasn't out there booking the parties, booking the shows. But when I got the right mentorship, when someone came to me and gave me the truth and let me know, listen, you got a lot of talent, but you're not working hard enough in this industry. You've got to get booked and busy. Your calendar has got to overflow. It's got to overflow with you out there doing the activity. And guess what happened, guys? When my calendar started to overflow with activity, right? That's when the magic started to happen. And it didn't happen overnight. There were times in which I had parties where there was no shows. There were no buys, right? Nobody bought anything, okay? But it didn't matter. I got out there and I kept doing the work, and the breakthrough started to happen. And before I knew it, boom, my business started to hit six and seven figures. And if you want to have your business hitting 6 and 7 figures, it's going to start with you. You might be the only leader on your team showing up right now. Well, guess what? Show up by yourself, and then people will follow you. See, people just want to see you being consistent so that they'll feel confident in you as a leader. And so we want you to listen and really pay attention to really the heartbeat of what's happening in the team. You can hear when you talk about Team Contagious, you hear Bernadine, right? You hear Kathy Weathers, but you hear these leaders out there doing these events. And guess what? You want to start paying attention and listening to what they're doing and start to duplicate that as well. And so every time you put together a flyer, every time you send an invite, every time you follow up, see, this is building a brick in your wall of success. You got to remind yourself that there is the power of compounding, and effort starts to compound when you do it consistently. The challenge is most people are only consistent at being inconsistent, okay? And so we've got to get consistent. We've got to get ready for Black Friday. Our corporate team right now is preparing for Black Friday. So you want to prepare as a team right now, because Black Friday isn't the day to start. See, it's the day to shine. See, on Black Friday, because you've done the work, when you've done the work well ahead of time, all of a sudden you're going to be ready for it, and you're going to have the confidence. You're going to know that you know. And so when you really think about these vending and home parties, I want you to think about these almost like practice games, okay? Practice games before the championship, right? So we're going to have a kind of a semi Super Bowl November the 1st, right? Because many of you are going to be doing these smaller parties at home and vending leading all the way up until then. We're going to have some epic things that we're going to do with the teams where you can actually earn free product. In fact, we're putting together something right now where you as a team can earn thousands of dollars of free product, okay, for your team, which is going to position you for these vending opportunities in a huge way. But you got to be busy, right? You got to get busy. You want to build your customer list. You want to look at all the people you've contacted during these vendor events. You want to start creating stories and testimonials, okay? You want to start also getting your own supplies, right? Stocking up on your product. There's going to be some packages we offer as soon as October that's going to allow you to vend in an even better way, okay? You want to also make sure we're leveraging each season appropriately. When you think about September, there's this back to school routine where people are now looking for ways to reset their health. The kids are back in school, so they're going to have more time to participate in businesses like this. When you think about October, the holidays are starting to approach. People are starting to get stressed, okay? Immune support is needed. When we think about November, this is really the big push because we know people are going to start shopping in November, but we understand that the relationships are built in September and October are what's going to drive the sales, which means you can't wait to November calling all your customers and think you're going to have this epic month, okay? No, it's going to start right now. In fact, I put together a few quotes as I close it out that I felt like was so appropriate, right? As we're talking about Labor Day, as we talk about pushing and getting ready for Black Friday. And one of them is by Gandhi, and it says, the future depends on what you do today. What we do today is dictating our future, guys. So if we're not busy today, guess what? Our future will look the exact same. There's another one by Sam Levinson, and it says, don't watch the clock, right? Do what it does. Keep going, right? Keep moving, right? And then there's another one that I'm not sure who actually quoted this, but it says, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Now, y'all heard that, okay? Sometimes people think, oh, I'm not that talented. But guess what? It really doesn't matter. If you're willing to roll up your sleeves and work hard, you're going to beat out some of the most talented people all day long, okay? So here we are now, and here's the call to action, guys. I want you to start really putting together what are you going to do in September? What's your goal for how many vending opportunities. How many times are you going to go on ChatGPT? You're going to go on Google, right? You're going to find what are some of the vending opportunities for wellness in your city. Then synergize perhaps with other teams. Make sure that it's always something that's completely affordable. We never want to have vending opportunities that cost, you should always 5 or 10x your investment, which means if you pay $100 for that show, you should have a minimum of $1,000 in sales, or don't do it. Okay. You want to find out the traffic. And so you want to go ahead and you want to put together your call of action. You want to set a goal, and your goal should be that 90-day goal. You want to have an income target goal. How many parties are you going to do in the month of September? How many parties are you going to do in the month of October? And you want to make sure you're doing the same thing with your team. Because if you're doing the exact same thing with your team, it's going to now help you to put together some fantastic numbers. And now you can start looking at what your Black Friday sales targets are. Are you going to go for diamond? Are you going for ruby? Are you going for emerald? But it's going to be directly in alignment to what you put together as your goals based on your activity. So the activity is going to help dictate your goal. And so put that down, write that down, make a contract with yourself, make a contract with your team, really come together and collaborate and hold each other accountable. Because here's what I know for sure. If we labor together, that means it can't be one person, okay? It can't be one team. But if we labor together for 90 days, we're going to prosper together for the holidays. And how many of you would like to prosper with the team during the holidays? How would you like to make this truly a November to remember and your most epic November ever in the history of our company? How powerful would that be? Well, it starts with what you do today. Speaking of what you do today, I would also remind you that you can jump on our rebound call. We have our hair Zoom. And then, of course, tomorrow we kick off our Diamond Factory. We know that our 2025 vision is clear: health, wealth, freedom, and legacy for every life we touch. We are looking forward. We are not looking back, because we're going to see you where? At the top, at the very top, at the tip top. We want each and every one of you to have an Icona day.
No hair Zoom today. No hair Zoom today on Labor Day. No hair Zoom today. We will be doing some work, but not the hair Zoom.